Just know Rastafari not sleep. She kill the chicken and see and know she get the lead. Oh, I tell the black woman she not to worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye for all, eyes glory. Black woman, you know for cash and no belly. I tell a yacht and no for worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye to all, eyes glory. Black woman, you know for cash and no belly. Carry life, try for free. Please, ladies, don't you take no abortion. Carry life, try for free. The youth not deserve no rejection. Another one scream to see fatality. She take the birth control and injection. It was a dead reflection. Life prove them wrong. I tell the black woman she not to worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye for all, eyes glory. Black woman, you know for cash.
Remove them from the island altogether. I am asking, please, to our people to cooperate with us. We recognize that hundreds, if not thousands of eagles are coming into the island.
I see was a bearing tree with no apology. No one can go call us Colina Belly. Sincerity. Goodness is what you give away. Joy I live to see. Thanks and praise, my mama never kill her. Oh. Your flesh enough is selling younger. Love life, never try to spoil it. You know have the right to dash the hills and I'm not silent. Life road is so rapid, yeah, it'll still sell. Life child, I forget food, you see. She don't know Rastafari and I sleep. She kill the chicken and out of life she get the lead. I tell the black woman she not to worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye for all, life's glory. Black woman, you know for cash and no belly. I tell a yacht and never worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye for all, life's glory. Black woman, you know for cash and no belly. Carry life, try to feel. These ladies, don't you take no abortion. Carry life, try to feel. The youth not deserve no rejection. Another one scream to see fatality. She take the birth control and injection. It was a dead reflection. Tell the black woman she not to worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye for all, life's glory. Black woman, you know for cash when no belly. I tell a yacht and never worry. Ace make waste and never worry. Eye for all, life's glory.
Hey, preacher man, I know you got something going on. Gotta make up a story, cause another Sunday coming down. Boy, you're not realizing that the world is in your hands. You claim it as your duty.
The public is invited to come out in their numbers and witness the mini parade and launch, and that will feature cultural performances by past and present Calypsonians and Soca Monarch artists, and the grand reveal of the Culture Armor 50 Senior Pageants contestants. There will be musical entertainment following the launch ceremony featuring the Odyssey Band and the Small Axe Band out of St. Kitts. So we're giving you some from Nevis Odyssey and some from St. Kitts Small Axe Band. The following day, which will be Saturday, April 27th, we're asking you to join us on an island-wide bar crawl with our senior pageants contestants and Blackstone International Sound. The bar crawl will begin at 1 p.m. in Charlestown, and it will travel via Gingerland, Butlers and Newcastle before culminating at Pinnis Beach. Here at Pinnis Beach on Saturday, we'll have the first action corner event for Culturama 50, promising an evening of entertainment with smooth vibes, collision band, and DJ Purple. You're invited to join the Culturama committee on Saturday to meet your Culturama 50 senior pageant contestants at various bars and to enjoy the after party at Pinnis Beach. On Sunday, this Sunday, April 28th, the second in a series of Panyard concerts will be held at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park from 4 p.m. Featured steel orchestras will be Pandora's, led by Sharon Brantley, Oali Rhythms, Sugar City Steel Orchestra, and Gifted Youths Steel Orchestra. Also featured will be gospel singing sensation Vinyl Powell, performances by the Cakewalk Dancers, and the grand finale featuring Easy Tebulous and Deli Rax. Now, I'm happy that I mentioned Vinyl Powell because it was on Saturday evening, last weekend, on St. Kitts at the Marriott Ballroom, that our Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Marcella Liebert, brought the Federation together for an evening of musical excellence. And it was indeed an evening of excellence. And I want to commend the Governor General for this bold initiative, where she has said that she's raising funds to have a national orchestra. And we've not had one before, and so this is novel. It is welcomed. I was blown away by the musical talent on offer at the Marriott Ballroom last Saturday. It was an elegant evening, an evening of tremendous talent on display. And the reason that I mentioned Vinelle is because Vinelle was featured. She and my good friend, I call her the songstress, Miss Morton. Well, I'm told she got married. I don't know what the married name is, but Miss Morton, who's the daughter of my dear friend, Pastor Dave Morton. Those were two standouts from the island of Nevis as they were featured. So they had a situation with a choir, which was excellent, but then when Vinelle performed, she was supported by the choir, and also the same with Miss Morton, whom I call the songstress. They really impressed, and the entire event was one for the ages. And so I thank them. I believe a chap called Clyde Richardson was the person who was charged with putting all this together, and they did an absolutely fantastic job. And so I say kudos to the Governor General and kudos to all of the artists. I felt proud because there is indeed so much talent in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we are hopeful that that talent will continue to bubble to the surface as we try to build out our orange economy, our creative economy. And so thank you for that, Vinelle and others, for an excellent job that you would have done. This past Sunday, the Culturama Secretariat partnered with Clifton Estate Rum, our local homegrown rum here, to host the Taste of Culturama Battle of the Mixes. After 4 rounds of competition, Keston Herbert emerged as the winner. Congratulations to Keston, and thank you to Clifton Estate for its partnership. Now, the idea behind this was to create a cocktail of the festival. And so we have now, through this competition, determined that for Culturama 50, we're going to have a Culturama cocktail. And that will be served throughout the various venues for Culturama throughout the Culturama season. And so, great initiative, excellent idea, and excellent execution last Sunday. I'm pleased to inform the members of the press and public as well that the ongoing construction work at the Culturama Village and Culturama Complex is making good progress. The Nevis Island Administration has hired several contractors, I'm told somewhere between 12 and 14 contractors, for building, electrical, plumbing, trucking, and excavation work. We have shared the workload among these various contractors, and certainly I'm happy that the project is proceeding apace, and their direction from the government is to make sure that they're ready well in time for Culturama 50, and they've all assured us that they will in fact be ready. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, The island of Nevis celebrates 40 years of financial services. The financial services sector, which was started, celebrates 40 years this year. And we are delighted to invite various businesses on the island who are so minded to participate in a celebratory magazine that we are creating. And so we're asking businesses to be a part of that commemorative issue that we are creating and to take an ad. I'm told that the cost is reasonable. A full page ad is 1,000 EC, half page ad is 500 EC, and a quarter page ad is $250 EC. And I believe that this milestone is something that all Nevisians can and should be proud of. Why? Because this started in 1984. You would recall that this was the brainchild of our first premier national hero, Sir Simeon Daniel. And then in 1994, under former premier of blessed memory now, the Honorable Vance Emery, that sector was expanded exponentially. And we're now at a point in 2024 where we can celebrate 40 years of this sector. And so I invite all to get involved. You'll hear more about it, but certainly I would invite businesses to be a part of that commemorative issue. Let me segue to tourism and to indicate that the Ministry of Tourism will be hosting its now famous month of activities dubbed Exposition Nevis. Highlights this year include the annual Heritage Village Life Open Day at the Nevis Heritage Village, that will be on the 3rd of May. The 200th anniversary celebration of Cottle Church, which will be Sunday 5th at 4 p.m. I want the members of the press to help me to spread the word that Cottle Church, which is reputed to be the first church in the region where blacks and whites were allowed to worship together, that Cottle Church on Sunday the 5th at 4 p.m. will have a service there to celebrate its 200th anniversary. You all think Nevis is easy? Not easy at all. That's the kind of history we have on this little island. We also are going to have the Jessup Seafood Fiesta on May 6th and Labor Monday at the Jessup's Community Center, various exercises for students, as well as the Nevis Beer and Grill Festival, slated for Saturday, 25th May at the MGR Park. Now, the Nevis Beer and Grill Festival is something new, and that is being introduced this year for the first time, and we look forward to that. I am particularly pleased because, as the members of the press may know, that we fired up the what is it called now? The brewery equipment, let me say that, on just, I think, in the last several days. We, of course, have given permission to an entity called Nevis Peak Brewery, and they have created a beautiful pub and trattoria, which is an Italian restaurant. But in addition, they will be doing now an artisan beer, and Nevis will have the first beer created here on the island, which certainly is something we're looking forward to. And so we've introduced the Beer and Grill Festival, and that will be part and parcel of what we're doing here for the Exposition Nevis this year. As part of our tourism initiative as well, I'm very pleased to say that Jenna Bush Hagar, who's the daughter of former President Bush Jr., if I can call him that, and the granddaughter of former President Bush Sr., that Jenna was here. She's a co-host of the Today Show, and she was here at the Four Seasons. She would have gone onto the show and would have done an excellent job in promoting Nevis. She talked about her holiday here. And what I want the members of the press and the public to note is that she posted to her Instagram page, to her millions of followers. She says, and these are her words, "My body is in New York City, but my heart is in Nevis." She put up a lot of pictures, and then she also posted to her Instagram page, "What a magical week with my people. Hiking, snorkeling, beaching, reading. Nevis, we love you." And that is what Jenna Bush Hagar would have written. We're very pleased because this is, if you will, organic promotion Government didn't ask for it, we didn't pay for it. Ministry of Tourism didn't even know she was here. But she came on her own volition with her family. And it speaks to the quality that we offer here on the island of Nevis when we are able to have prominent individuals such as these, significant media personalities, come, enjoy, and then speak about it. So we thank Mrs. Bush Hagar and certainly look forward to her return and for those that she can influence to come and see us as well. The St. Kitts Nevis Cross Channel Swim was held on Saturday the 6th of April. I want to congratulate the organizers, Jane Hansen and her team. I'm told that we had just over 300 swimmers who swam from Wally Beach in Nevis to Cockleshell Beach on St. Kitts across the 2-mile Narrows. And so the Mike Self, let me congratulate Mr. Self, S-E-L-F, Mike Self. He completed the swim in a time of 1 hour and 3 minutes. And so he was the -- person out of the water. I don't know if he was the #1 in, but he was certainly the #1 out in just over an hour, which is quite remarkable, to swim that distance in just over an hour. And so I certainly congratulate Mr. Self for winning that competition. As we talk about tourism, before I move on, we would have put out a notice, but since I'm here, that I travel tomorrow, Wednesday, to Tenerife in Spain. I will be leading a cohort of persons from our Nevis Tourism Authority, and we also have invited a band to accompany us, and the purpose is to engage with some 650 incredibly affluent African Americans who are having a retreat in Tenerife, and Nevis has been afforded the privilege of partnering with them. And so we hope to showcase our culture, showcase our talent. Our musicians will entertain them, and we have the opportunity to engage them both in relation to business in terms of travel, but also in relation to investment opportunities here on the island of Nevis. This group that we're engaging with, referred to as the Brooklyn Guardsmen, is one of the most significant and most affluent groupings of African Americans in the United States. You would have heard me say in the past that as we try to build out our tourism infrastructure and as we try to build out the appeal of the island of Nevis, that we're taking some very deliberate steps to start to promote the island to groups and demographics that ordinarily would not consider Nevis because they don't know about Nevis. And so we're targeting now more of our marketing efforts at the African American community. We're targeting more of those efforts within the eastern seaboard of the United States. And opportunities such as this really afford us the chance to engage with persons who are the precise demographic that Nevis looks for in terms of our tourism product. And so we look forward to engaging with them. The team has gone already. In fact, I believe they are already in Tenerife, but I will go only for the event, so I don't leave until tomorrow. Of course, it takes a day to get there and a day to come back. So I hope to be back on the weekend, back to Nevis. And so we certainly look forward to having an impact there. Let me switch to the Ministry of Education and to say that an event that is looked forward to each year, our annual Spelling Bee competition, in collaboration with the Lornette Mills Charitable Fund. That competition will take place on the 10th of May at 9 a.m. for primary schools and 1 p.m. for secondary schools. And so this is where our schools battle for supremacy in terms of spelling. Virtual Day this year, 2024, we'll host our second Virtual Day for schools on Wednesday the 22nd of May. Virtual Day is an opportunity for schools to test their systems in place for remote learning by hosting an entire day of school online. So let me be clear, it's not a holiday, it's not a day off. All you're doing is switching to our online portals to ensure that we continue to be ready. You recall during COVID, a lot of our training had to be done online. So we have not abandoned the online system. And so what we do is this series of virtual days to continue to fine-tune and ensure that that system is available at our fingertips. So we look forward very much to that. The second virtual day for schools will be Wednesday, the 22nd of May. CXC written exams. If you go around, you see is it called the poi tree, I think, something like that? They call it the exam tree. Some places you see it's blooming. So beautiful yellow flowers, that means exam time is in the air. Right. So CXC written exams. I know it's a time when our students are quite tense. As I speak, I see young Miss Thompson looked up at me because she would remember her days, I'm sure, which are not so far behind her. People like me can't remember my days, but certainly she would remember clearly that exams were always a sort of tense time. We want to encourage our students and teachers and the parents to give all the support they can. But CXC written exams, they're going to begin on the 6th of May and continue until June 14th. And they're doing CCSLC for 3rd to 5th formers, CSEC for 5th formers, and CAPE for 6th formers. So the period will be 6th of May until June 14th. So please let us encourage our youngsters, families, teachers. Let us work together and let us come back with the best possible grades that we can get this year. This is an important announcement that we have the opening of registration for new students, April 22nd to May 17th. Each school will publish their registration dates, and parents are asked to contact the schools to make appointments and complete the application process. Let me emphasize, please, that we have a zoning system in place. And so, those of you who live in particular areas on the island, your children will be zoned to the schools that are in your area. We have had an ongoing problem on the island where some schools are overcrowded and other schools have hardly any students. The reason for that is because some people insist on taking their children out of their school zone and sending them to other schools outside the zone. You have, for example, the Charleston Primary School, which is a large school, very crowded. And then you have, in comparison, the St. James Primary School, which hardly has any students. I think the St. James Primary School probably only has about 30 or 40 students for the entire school, whereas the Charlestown Primary School has usually hundreds of students. A big part of that problem is you hear parents say things like, well, I work in town, and so I prefer for my child to go to school in town because that's where I work. You hear them say, the child's auntie teaches at the school, and so I want my child to go there. You hear them say, the child has friends in town or cousins in town, and I want them to go there. We're trying to encourage our people to see the value in having their children go to the schools in their neighborhoods, and that way we build up the schools and assist the schools in being viable. So, we have the registration that's open, and we're asking parents and guardians to cooperate with us. People sometimes engage in all kinds of things. Mother and father don't live together. Child lives with mommy. But daddy lives someplace else. They say the child lives with the father just to get the child into a school outside the zone for that child. So we're just encouraging people. Please do the right thing, and certainly the Ministry of Education will be trying as much as possible to enforce the rules as they apply to zoning. Another important notice is that the 2024 Prospective Teachers course will open on May 7th. Persons interested in joining the teaching profession are asked to collect and complete the application for the 2-week training course for prospective teachers. Successful graduates from the course will be considered for positions as teachers. Now I want to emphasize that you will be considered for positions. Some people feel that because you go to the course, you're automatically entitled to be a teacher. That will depend on what's available. So we urge those who are interested in teaching to sign up and to do the course, which starts on May 7th. The Youth Department celebrated Youth Month under the theme Youth Inclusivity for Future Sustainability, and held a number of activities, including a Easter camp, where 67 participants were introduced to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. During the month, we also partnered with 2 of our 2023 Youth Impact 12 awardees in delivering educational workshops and training for our youths. Through the Regency Assurance-sponsored Youth Impact 12 volunteer project, Mr. Elisel Ramirez, the awardee for Youth in Performing Arts, he delivered training in the creative arts, and Dr. Tivon Brown, Health and Wellbeing, delivered a health mentorship program. We take this opportunity to congratulate Miss Cyan Leader, the 2024 Youth Impact winner in the area of youth development. In sports, we have some exciting announcements. FIFA Football for Schools initiative is scheduled to launch here in Nevis on April 29th. An MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, was signed between the Ministry of Education and Sports Nevis and the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association representing FIFA. And we are now ready to roll out that program. The program aims to contribute towards the education, development, and empowerment of our children, and is therefore designed to target life skills and competencies for football, and also contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. On April 3rd, 2024, we witnessed what is being dubbed one of the best inter-primary championships. We wish to congratulate all of the schools on their performances, but a special congratulations to the 2024 champions, the perennial champions, the Charlestown Primary School. The final medal count and positions, the Charlestown Primary School got 18 gold medals, 13 silver medals, and 13 bronze. The Joyce and Liebert Primary School got 13 gold medals, 11 silvers, and 11 bronze. The St. Thomas's Primary School got 13 gold medals, 7 silvers, and 7 bronze. The Ivor Walters Primary School, my alma mater, got 8 gold medals, 15 silvers, and 15 bronze. The St. James Primary School, smallest school on the island, got 7 gold medals, 5 silvers, and 1 bronze. A phenomenal performance for a school that size. The Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School got 2 golds, 4 silvers, and 8 bronze. Nevis Academy, 1 gold, 4 silvers, 2 bronze. Maud Cross Preparatory, 1 gold, 3 silvers, 1 bronze. And the Violet O. Jeffers Nichols, 1 gold, 2 silver, and 6 bronzes. Congratulations to some of our individual class champions. Kindergarten, Johan Isles and Jadira McPherson. Grade 1, Chevron Brown and Kelani Morton. Grade 2, Akila Douglas, Silan Paris. Grade 3, Kishard Burton, Adira Wallace. Grade 4, Roan Isles and Zakeem Bailey. Grade 5, Kelran Liebert and Demaya Lagi. Grade 6, Janaya McNeil and Samaro Arthurton. The Victor Ladorum was Silan Paris, and the Victress Ladorum was shared between Demaya Lagi and Janaya McNeil. We say thank you to our title sponsors, Gulf Insurance Limited and Bonnie Limited as our platinum sponsors, St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla National Bank and Rams Limited. There were several other sponsors in other categories who partnered with us, and we express to them all our profound gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Public Works Department, as I move along, the Public Works Building and Maintenance team is telling us that they are working at the cultural complex. I reported on that earlier, but they're saying that they're about 35% completed already, and so we expect that that project, as I said, is going to be finished very soon and well in time for Culturama. They are doing the road reconstruction in Brown Hill. I have passed there in mornings. I see it for myself. I want to say kudos to the team. They're working quite hard in getting that done, and that's the area from the Brown Hill basketball court down to connect to low ground. This work is already about 85% complete, where the driveways, fencing, curbs, and slipper drains are just about done, and we're now preparing for asphalting. Works at the Butler's Junction, just north of Esme's shop, that's about 75% complete, I'm told. We've done the catchment box, and we're now backfilling and preparing for final paving. Rollins Road, we're doing some work there. That's about 90% complete. We just need to complete the asphalting. And the upgrading of the exterior of the Ministry of Finance building is also just about completed. We are also, which I think is important, maintaining all culverts island-wide as we prepare for the rainy season. We understand sometimes when the rains come, we have floods, and so we are taking precautions. As they say in the Windward Islands, we're taking in front to try and make sure that we are in good stead where that's concerned. And so I wanted to just mention those quick snapshots from Public Works. I'm moving through my notes quickly so that we could have some time for some questions. The Department of Labor, in commemoration of World Day for Safety and Health at Work, will be hosting a week of activities during the week, Monday 22nd to Friday 26th April. There is a workshop scheduled to take place on Tuesday 23rd April. Well, that workshop has already occurred. It's occurring today, from 8:30 to 4 p.m. at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. The theme for this year's World Day for Safety and Health at Work is, and I quote, ensuring safe and healthy work now in a changing climate. And so we commend, of course, Minister Brand and his team who continue to work hard to ensure that our workers are safe and they know their rights. That, I think, is important. Let me switch to the all-important Ministry of Health. I want to go on record to express our warm appreciation for the assistance of Dr. Spencer Amry. He would have conducted his annual colon cancer consultation at the Alexandra Hospital Outpatient Department. A total of 44 patients were seen that day. Patients were then scheduled to have their procedures done on Monday 15th, Wednesday 17th, and Friday 19th April. The ministry thanks Dr. Amry for generously offering his time and expertise during this voluntary service. And every year, Dr. Amry comes and does this colon cancer consultation. And so we thank him very much for that. He, like Dr. Thwaites and his team who come to do the annual prostate screening, like Dr. Rouse from Atlanta who has come to do cardio and heart screening, Dr. Hubie and his team who come to do our eye care clinic. Incidentally, they're here now, the eye care clinic until May. And so for those who would like to have their eyes checked or have any difficulties, we ask you to get in touch and see whether you can get an appointment. But all of these are persons who have come and offered us their services, and we owe them a debt of gratitude, and we say thank you to them. Dr. Regina Gross, a German pediatric oncologist, hematologist with a specialty in sickle cell disease, visited Nevis on Wednesday 10th April 2024. During her visit, Dr. Gross paid a courtesy call on our Honorable Honorable Janelle Nisbet, Minister with Responsibility for Health. And Dr. Gross also engaged in a patient clinic where she saw 6 patients, age ranges from 23 months to 14 years old, and conducted a continued medical education session for health providers. Now, we have no hematologists, I'm told, in the Federation. So we want to thank her and the federal government for capitalizing on her visit and for her efforts to assist us here on the island of Nevis and on our sister island of St. Kitts. The Alexandra Hospital is having their laboratory week. Lab week was April 15th to 19th, so that is now over. But they highlighted the various functions of the lab. And one of the things that I want to highlight here is that they've created an opportunity for those like you and I, and those who are listening and viewing, to become blood donors. So I want to explain what that means. That you are not asked to come and donate blood. What you're asked to do is to come, make sure you're tested, your blood type is determined, and then to be put in their database as a donor. So that if somebody were to come to the hospital needing your blood type, that they know that they can call on you. You may well be able to save a life. And so we invite persons to register to become blood donors. The Taiwan ICDF, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health and the Taipei General Hospital, held a two-day forum on transforming metabolic chronic disease care with value-driven approaches, the SKN experience. This was done on April 18th and 19th. The forum was a culmination of a 4-year public health project that focused on the prevention and control of metabolic diseases such as diabetes, stroke, and cardiovascular disease. Speakers shared their experience in health education and self-management, screening, and taking part in capacity building. These types of studies, these types of engagements are very important for us because they provide invaluable data as we move to a more data-driven health sector. Monday, the April 15th, and members of the press, I think this is very exciting news. We saw the official launch of the first phase of the emergency dispatcher training. The cohort of 13 participants who successfully completed the training were certified in CPR, automated external defibrillator, that's AED operations, and first aid. Participants will then move on to the APCO training. During this phase, trainees will acquire essential skills including cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, handling cardiac and respiratory emergencies, managing uncontrollable bleeding, addressing choking incidents, assisting with childbirth, and responding to seizures. All of us are human beings. We know that these things can happen and sometimes happen quickly. And so what we're trying to do is to create a cohort of trained individuals who can respond. The goal is to equip dispatchers with the knowledge needed to provide pre-hospital life-saving instructions to callers. The Ministry of Health thanks the Four Seasons Homeowners Foundation for their continued partnership. Now let me break all of that down. We all know that emergencies arise. That's why they're called emergencies. They're not planned. And when they do, whether it's a health emergency, somebody collapses, your child falls, there is a different kind of emergency where somebody's committing a crime, there's an accident on the road, whatever it may be, there's a fire that breaks out. You want to be able to call and get help immediately. And so we have the old 911 system in place, but I think we can all say that it does not work optimally. Depending on where in the island you are, if you call 911, I'm told that they will pick up in St. Kitts. And so I wish you good luck if you're in Brick Hill trying to explain to somebody in St. Kitts how to get to you. That doesn't work. I'm told if you're on the southern side of the island and you call, that sometimes the 911 call is picked up as far away as Antigua. That again is clearly unhelpful. And so we saw that there was a gaping hole in terms of our response to emergencies. And we wanted to fix that. And I want to thank very much the Four Seasons Homeowners Foundation. They have always been excellent partners to the island of Nevis. And I want to mention in particular Miss Anne Gergley, who has been the person leading the charge. She is very passionate about this, and she has really been a source of inspiration and help to the Nevis Island Administration, to our Ministry of Health. And so what we're going to do is we are, one, training dispatchers. Everybody will be housed at our CCTV command center. And so when you call now, the designated number, it will be perhaps 911, perhaps a different number, but whatever the number is, when you call that number, that will go directly to that CCTV center. Individuals there will be trained. Sure, you all see, when you watch movies, you see people call 911 and the dispatcher answers. And they will be trained to keep you on the line, find out what is going on, but in the same time, dispatch the necessary help. It could be police, it could be fire, it could be ambulance, whatever the help is that's needed. And I'm told, which is impressive for me, that the response time, it has to be, I think, under 5 minutes. So wherever you are, you should be able to get help in under 5 minutes. So this is quite incredible, what we're trying to achieve here. It's a pilot program that's being rolled out here in Nevis. It is our hope that if that program works the way that we intend it to work, then our sister St. Kitts will also come on board. I can say that the police force, the Commissioner of Police, the fire department, they've all been involved in the process, and we've had a working group that has been working on this for quite some time. It would be remiss of me not to congratulate the Honorable Janet Nisbet for her excellent work and her team, particularly Permanent Secretary Shalisa Martin, who has been with this project from its inception. And they have really done an excellent job working with our people here to create this. We are also going to, I don't know if you're aware of an area called Whitehall. That's on the northern side of the island. We will be mounting some equipment on the towers there in order to ensure that we get maximum coverage all around the island of Nevis. So you won't any longer connect when you have an emergency with somebody in Antigua or in St. Kitts. You will connect with a dedicated number here, and most importantly, you'll connect with people who are trained. We're training not only dispatchers, we're also training EMTs at the hospital, and we're training police and all of those in terms of when they get on the scene, how do they respond. The health authorities, for example, are telling us that the first few minutes can be critical to determine if somebody lives or dies. And we want to save lives. And so we thank them and we look forward very much to the continued rollout of this project. The Department of Gender Affairs, in collaboration with TDC Group of Companies, Automotive Division, concluded their second car care clinic for women on Saturday, 13th April. 17 women participated in this clinic, which now brings a total of 32 women benefiting from this initiative. I wish I knew the initiative was happening, because I too need some training in car care. But what the Department of Gender Affairs is doing is ensuring that when you are a lady and you have some problem with your car, you don't have to call a soul. You now need to know how to change your tire, you need how to change your oil, you need to know all these things that you need to know. And they're training, and we want to thank TDC for partnering with us in that significant way. The company, TDC, is currently also facilitating, guess what, for women? A tiling clinic, tiling, laying tiles. And that will run for 3 Saturdays, April 20, 27th, and May 4th. 30 participants. It was oversubscribed. I didn't realize there were so many women interested in learning how to lay tiles. Well, 30 of them showed up, and they will learn the practical skills in tiling, including techniques for cutting, laying, and grouting. At the end of the project, these ladies will be asked to tile a classroom at one of our schools. So we want to thank TDC and thank the women as well who have stepped up and stepped forward. I love to see women doing things that are considered non-traditional. It's always good as we build out our gender equality in the island of Nevis. The Boys Mentorship Program conducted its Easter camp on April 15 to 20, 2024. The boys participated in several activities which included cooking, hiking, educational tours, and developmental sessions. Mentors and facilitators also shared their knowledge, insights, and experiences with our young boys. The Health Promotion Unit conducted a 10-day training and mentorship initiative under the theme Empowering Our Future Health Professionals. 31 participants ages 12 to 25 took part in this initiative. During the sessions, students interested in pursuing a career in a health field were introduced to various health disciplines and topics. Topics included dentistry, pharmacy, nursing, mental health, counseling, health and screening techniques, nutrition, and volunteerism. On the final day, the students, under the supervision of their mentors, were able to put into practice all the theory and practice from the classroom into real life at the free health screening event held on Friday, 12th April at the Cotton Ginnery. Special thanks to Dr. Tevan Brown and Dr. Hadassah Willett Sargent for this truly incredible initiative. Further note, as we continue to encourage our people to get up, get out, and get moving, the SKN Moves Nevis chapter on April 13th, in collaboration with the Nevis Aquatic Sailing Center, hosted its third edition of the Aquaphonathlon. This year also saw the introduction of the Aquathlon, which is a spin-off of the Aquaphonathlon. 25 young people aged ranged 7 to 17 took part in the 3 scheduled events. The results were as follows. Ages 8 to 12, third place Nahum Polius, second Claire J. Christmas, and first place Grayson Burrell. Ages 13 to 17, third place Henri Pemberton, second place Austin Williams, and first place Troy Nisbet. And ages 7 to 12, third place Nathan Lestrade and Jarville Forrester, second place Grayson Burrell and Abhijith Srinivasan, and first place Skylar Connor and Nazuna Chiverton. We congratulate all of these young people who are doing wonderful things here on the island of Nevis. So I want to thank them for that, and we continue to do our best. Now, let me also announce that on April 11th, the Department of Community Development started a sewing workshop at the Barneswood Community Center with a total of 11 participants. This workshop is being facilitated by my friend, Ms. Carvel Mills, owner and proprietor of Zeki's Designs on the island of Nevis. She's a skilled seamstress and has worked with the department in previous years in conducting very successful workshops. The classes, sewing classes, will be done over a 6-week period. And so I want again to remind persons that they can be a part of that in terms of learning how to sew. The Community Development Month celebrations. This year marks the 10th anniversary of Community Development Month, which will be celebrated in May by the Department of Community Development. The theme for this year is Committed to Community, Dedicated to Progress. The theme emphasizes our commitment to the communities in which we serve and acknowledges their evolution over time. The month will commence with a church service at the St. George's Anglican Church on Sunday, April 28th, this coming Sunday, and will culminate with staff training and developmental session at the MGR Park. Nevis Heritage Festival. It is one of the main events for Community Development Month, and the Department of Community Development uses this event as an opportunity to celebrate our rich and diverse Caribbean cultural traditions. It will be held at the ETW Park on Saturday, April 25th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we invite the general public to come out and support the various Caribbean countries and to enjoy their various cultural traditions. Some countries that are taking part include St. Kitts and Nevis, Guyana, Jamaica, Grenada, and many more. Additionally, we encourage those who are interested in participating to contact the Department of Community Development at 469-5521, extensions 2184 or 2185. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you I'm coming to the end of my various bits of information in relation to the Ministry of Agriculture. Through its various departments, the Ministry of Agriculture will be observing Agricultural Awareness Month in the month of May 2024. The theme is promoting sustainable agriculture for a resilient future. And we look forward very much to Agriculture's Awareness Month. Culturama, I have indicated an update on that already. Marine Resources, there will be a training on Monday 29th at the Jessops Community Center on biodegradable panel for fish traps with personnel from the Department of Marine Resources and Coastal Fish Project. Additionally, the annual fish pot making workshop, which is a joint collaboration between the Department of Marine Resources and the Department of Gender Affairs, will take place on May 18th and 25th, starting 9 a.m., again at the Jessops Playfield. Registration for this event starts on Monday, April 22nd at the Office of Marine Resources and Gender Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, I will have now just one final update. And that has to do that with our ongoing works at Pinnies. You would recall that we would have finished the MGR Park and opened that, and that has really provided excellent service thus far to the people of Nevis. It is now certainly the go-to venue for conferences, for weddings, and for various events. We have embarked, with the assistance of the People's Republic of China, Taiwan, on another phase, and that is now to develop the areas around the beach bars and to improve the aesthetics, the sewage, the parking, the roadways, the lighting, safety, security, CCTV, and all of those amenities to ensure that that entire area of Pinnies becomes the go-to destination in the Federation for leisure and for relaxation. The name of the park is the Malcolm Gishado Recreational Park. We want people to feel comfortable going there with their families, flowing from the park, where they can get their smoothies, where the children can play their video games, or you can just sit under a tree and read a book. Children can go in the play area, play basketball, or engage and enjoy the splash pads. You can then go into the park itself, into the lower area, where the restaurants are, and enjoy a variety of restaurants now down there on the beach. Most of them have invested significantly. I mentioned earlier Nevis Peak, which is doing the local beer, but also restaurants. There are various types including the famous, world-famous Sunshine's Beach Bar. We are creating down there parking. We're creating proper lighting and security. We're creating proper bathroom and change facilities for persons who want to use the beach. And we expect that it will be a remarkable addition to the life and times of the island of Nevis. I am advised that all the work will be substantially completed by June 15th. I'm pushing them to get it done even quicker, but I'm told that all will be done by June 15th. And that means all roads, drainage, parking lots, lighting, etc. will be done by June 15th. And I'm sure if you visit the area of Pennies from time to time, you will already see the phenomenal achievements that we would have there. I did say that was the last update, but please forgive me as I mentioned one other thing, and that is to say to our people in St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. They have been agitating for some time, and quite rightly so, that they needed a way to come home to Nevis, and that they were having difficulties because Coastal Air, our dear friend Mike, who operated that for decades, that Coastal Air was now out of business. And while we have Cape Air that comes daily from St. Thomas, USVI, we did not have anything coming out of St. Croix. I'm very pleased to say to our people in St. Croix that we will shortly be making a formal announcement that we have secured the services of an airline to service St. Croix Nevis direct several times per week, and that we are now just finalizing the fine print, so to speak, so as to make an announcement on that as to when that service will start. And so I think that's good news, especially in time for Culturama, and we hope that those in St. Croix who have been clamoring will shortly have a clear idea of when that service will start from St. Croix to Nevis direct, and so be able to bring people back and forth. So I'm very pleased to say that and to make that announcement, and more information on that will come shortly. I will leave it there and now take your questions. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. Elke Hewlett, Department of Information. We recently saw news out of St. Kitts that there was some signing of an MOU in Abu Dhabi, I think it was, where Prime Minister Dr. Terence Rew would have witnessed that signing. However, it was Nevis was notably absent from that engagement. We didn't see you or anyone else there representing Nevis, considering it's a Nevis geothermal project. Can you say why Nevis was not represented at this meeting? And do you have any further information about this MOU and what it means for moving forward the project on Nevis? The government announced a new HR policy relating to performance appraisals. As Minister responsible for Human Resources, can you speak to the objective of such a policy and what that means for the government and for its employees? We see that the Mondo track will be the venue for several important track and field meets over the next couple of months. What does this mean for Nevis, and also what does it mean for the expansion of the Mondo track project? That's the Nevis Athletic Stadium. And that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hewlett. Yes, I too saw the news of signing of a memorandum of understanding in the United Arab Emirates, witnessed by the Prime Minister, which I'm told involved companies, Siemens, which is a well-known German company that does turbines and machinery, and a company called KKK, which I'm told is a significant real estate developer and financial institution involved in various industries. The Prime Minister obviously would have had his trip planned to the United Arab Emirates. He did inform me that he was planning on taking this trip and that he hoped while he was there to meet with potential investors as we try jointly to get this geothermal project off the ground. He, whilst in the Middle East, he did call me and indicate to me that he had had useful meetings with Siemens and with KKK, and that they were minded to sign an MOU. Now, I want to be very clear that an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, is not a contract. It is nothing that is binding in relation to creating any contractual agreements or commitments. It merely sets out the parties' interests in relation to this project. And so you ask why nobody from the NIA was there, frankly, because the Prime Minister, it is his prerogative to determine who he invites or doesn't invite on any trip that he's taken. He did say to me he was taking this trip, but no invitation was extended. And I believe that the project, while you say it's a Nevis project, the resource is certainly in Nevis, but we have said quite plainly that we want to explore this for the benefit of the entire Federation. And so the objective here is to extract geothermal energy so that the person in Charlestown and the person in Bastille, the person in Brick Hill and the person in Tabernacle can benefit from geothermal energy. That really is our objective. And so we look forward very much to exploring in a collaborative way this incredible resource that God has gifted us with. And we hope in the fullness of time, as I've said, that we can have an economy that is based on renewable energy as opposed to the mono economy we now have on Nevis of tourism and on St. Kitts of citizenship by investment. So we need to wean ourselves off our heavy reliance on those two. Performance appraisals, Ms. Hewlett, you know that I'm a big fan of paying people for the quality of what they do. I've said that we really need to move towards a pay for performance basis of engaging. There are many public servants who work very hard and deserve every penny and more. There are others who don't work hard, who show up late, if at all, who don't engage themselves in trying to build their capacity, who are just not interested, who see their job as merely something to collect a salary. And so the idea behind enhancing a performance appraisals is really to ensure that we're getting an ongoing assessment of our workforce. We should know, for example, Ms. Hewlett, that increments, which are increases in salaries normally dealt with annually, should really only follow a positive appraisal report. The practice somehow developed that increments were being granted automatically, and that people, in fact, start to make noise for them. As soon as January morning comes, they start to say, oh, I need my increment. Some of them who are making the most noise are the least productive. And so we are going back to the position where increments are not automatic. They were never intended to be automatic. Increments are granted based on you satisfying your supervisors that you're doing the relevant job and that you have a positive appraisal report. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to mainstream the idea of performance within the public sector. We're trying to say to all that you must come to work on time, you must perform your task, you must show the commitment to the job at hand. And as I remind public servants all the time, we are called public servants. And you hear me say we, because I'm a public servant as well. We are called public servants because we serve the public. And when the complaints come from the public that people are sauntering into work long after work is supposed to start, people are going and taking extra time for lunch, and those same people are the first to leave the office. If the office closes at 4, be assured that by 3:30, bags are packed and they're ready to roll out. We are saying to persons that the appraisal reports and the enhanced appraisals will now take into account all of those. And if you want to move up in the service, you want promotion, you want increments in pay, you want to be able to advance, then you have to perform. And I think that is fair. I don't believe that should be controversial at all. The Mondo track, I am very pleased, Ms. Hewlett, that Nevis could have come to the rescue of the St. Kitts Nevis Amateur Athletic Association this year. St. Kitts Nevis Athletics this year. Because, of course, of the repairs that are being done at the Kim Collins Stadium in St. Kitts. And whilst there was a lot of chatter on social media, and we understand that that is, for many, their entertainment, they go to social media to engage, that at the end of the day, what it shows is that the vision of this government in investing in this facility for our youth and investing in this facility for our athletes is bearing spectacular fruit. There's a host of activities, meets that will be happening at the Mondo track as a result of the track in St. Kitts being unavailable at this time. Is there a need for additional infrastructure there, a stadium of some kind, additional seating? Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will get to that as our revenue and as our available money allows us to get to that. But I don't believe that any serious commentator could doubt that this Mondo track has really transformed athletics in the island of Nevis, and as we see now, impacted in a positive way athletics across the federation. Because even on the island of St. Kitts, their athletes are now benefiting. So for example, we're having the Olympic tryouts, those will happen in Nevis. This is where the athletes are going to come to get ready for the Olympics, which I believe is in France this year, if memory serves. And so I just want our people to understand that this is in fact a good sign that we're moving in the right direction. Are there any more questions for me?
Elke Hewlett again, just to follow up on the performance appraisals, you spoke about the benefits of getting a good appraisal. What about those people who continue to underperform and those who don't perform at all? What is the ramifications for those persons?
Excellent question, and the ramifications of those persons are: one, they don't benefit from salary increases and increments that are clearly expected in the public service from year to year. Two, they don't benefit from promotions, which are expected. And three, they can, if their performance and bad performance continues, certainly be brought before the Public Service Commission for disciplinary action to be taken against them. Disciplinary action leading up to perhaps dismissal from the public service. So it's in people's interest to perform. It's in people's interest to come to work and to give their best, not to treat the government or treat the job as if it doesn't matter to them. And I have commented from this very rostrum, Ms. Hewlett, on the numbers of public servants who work for government by day and work at other private institutions by night. And they give their best to those private institutions. In fact, I was alerted to one situation where one government worker wanted to leave that job each day early because they had to report on time at their private sideline job. Another worker came to work late because the job involved some nighttime work and could not come to the substantive government job early each day. So a lot of people seem to have a misguided view as to what it means to have a job in government and to work. Everybody say, well, nobody could turn me away because, you know, politics get involved and all of this. Well, we are showing here in Nevis that through this performance appraisals, we want to have a data-driven approach. We want to have a scientific approach to how we treat, and we want to ensure that our best workers are rewarded and our worst workers are encouraged to improve, and if they refuse to improve or cannot improve, then they're weeded out. That really is the objective of what we're trying to do. The public service must, as I've said time and time again, be a standard bearer for excellence in the island of Nevis. When people say you have a public service mentality, it should no longer be an insult. It should be some high praise for you to be told that you have a public service mentality. It must mean that our people have to step up and understand. And let me just say this last thing. We are facing increased competition. We've heard of CARICOM and the unrelenting efforts to widen the freedom of movement. We've heard of the OECS. Right now, if you're from Antigua or St. Lucia, you're from St. Vincent or Grenada, you're from Dominica, you just show up in Nevis. Nobody in Nevis can stop you or say you can't come because we've signed on to these protocols now that allow our OECS brothers and sisters to come and to work. What that means is that you're no longer competing for a job just against your friend in Bath Village or Jessop's. You're now competing for jobs against colleagues, brothers and sisters from the OECS region, and in some cases from the wider CARICOM region. And our people have to inculcate in themselves that attitude of going out there and working hard and getting what they want. It's very important. We need that get up and go. Our forefathers had that spirit. Somewhere along the line, some of us have lost that spirit. And we've gotten complacent. And we tend to sit back and say, me born ya. And because you're born ya, you expect that everything should fall into your lap. You have a sense of entitlement. Well, that is not the way of the world. And whether you're born here or you're born someplace else, we want to create in Nevis a situation where excellence is rewarded, hard work is rewarded, dedication and commitment are rewarded, and poor performance is not. And so when I made my comments, for example, about double salaries, where everybody gets it, and I know I came in for harsh criticism, this was really the point that I was trying to make. That we need to reward those who work hard and work well, and equally not reward those who refuse to do the job for which they have been hired. Any more questions for me?
Good morning, Premier Brantley.
Good morning.
Danella Thompson, Von Radio. The federal government would have recently placed a ban on single-use plastics in the federal parliament. As Premier, what are your views on the development, and what are the possible impacts that small business owners on the island can expect? Can any update be provided on the water drilling project following the procurement of a company to complete that project? And as it relates to the emergency dispatch system, is there a time period estimate regarding the operation of the system? And finally, following the last update regarding the hospital wing, I believe it would have been a quantitative analysis, when can the public expect work to resume at the health facility? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. As always, I always commend you on your poise and your questions, always excellent. Let me take your questions in turn. The federal government ban on plastics in the Federation. Those who have been listening to the CCM as a party for some time would know that we have advocated a ban on plastics a long time ago. In fact, if Nevis could have done it on its own, plastics would have been banned in Nevis over 5 years ago. The problem we had is that Nevis could not go on its own because it made no sense to try and ban plastics in Nevis if you could get on the boat and buy it in St. and bring it over. And so the federal government was a little slower to move. But I want to commend the Honorable Eric Evelyn because he's the one who started that ball rolling when he was Federal Minister of the Environment. And then that work has now been continued by the Honorable Joel Clark. And I'm quite pleased that this ban has been introduced. I think it means that we are functioning in accordance with what the world and this modern world now expects. Plastic has its uses, for sure. All of us use plastic, some way, shape, or form. But the dangers of plastic to our oceans, to our environment, are very real. I think as we look and we see the plastic bottles, we see the plastic bags, the forks, the knives, etc. A lot of that gets into our oceans. They now have in our oceans a concept that they call microplastics, where they're told that microscopic specks of plastics are in the ocean and being consumed by our sea life. And so when you eat fish now, you are now consuming microplastics because the microplastics are consumed by the fish and the marine life. This is quite dangerous. It means, therefore, that our indiscriminate use of plastics has had an effect even on our health. So, the chickens are coming home to roost. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? So, I 100% support the ban on plastics. Now, the federal government has proposed that it be done in phases. The reason why it's be done in phases is 1, to help educate people. 2, to allow an opportunity for people to come up with alternatives. Now, I want to make this statement, Ms. Thompson, that nobody promotes small businesses more than me. I use every avenue that I have, my WhatsApp status, my Facebook, my social media, my public speaking. I'm always, people I don't know send me flyers for their little business, selling cookies, and I post it because I am a strong advocate of small businesses. However, with the situation with plastics, all of us will have to adapt. And what this government is prepared to do, the NIA, is to provide the necessary incentives to small businesses as they switch over from plastic to other products. I want to commend a lot of our hotels because they've already started to switch. I want to commend people like, what do they call now, Nelson Spring Water. I don't know if you're aware, but they are changing over to glass bottles, reusable glass bottles, and changing from plastic. This was an initiative that the owners discussed with me many months ago, and I'm happy to see that they finally introduced the glass bottles. So we understand that some adaptation is going to be necessary, but I want to make it pellucid that we support and will continue to support small businesses, and we will have to find a way, working with small businesses, to give them alternatives. So if you're selling food, we're going to eventually ban the styrofoam containers as well. Styrofoam is a very dangerous material. It doesn't degrade, stays within the environment for decades. We want you to move that to a cardboard or other alternative paper-based, which is biodegradable. In fact, I'll tell you, I went to law school in Jamaica a long time ago, 30 years ago. And in Jamaica, they had a concept they called box food. They say you're going to buy a box food, meaning you're going to buy your rice and curry chicken, and it was a cardboard box that they put it in. You see that here now at some of the hotels as well, that when they do takeaway, they put it in a cardboard box. And that was Jamaica 30 years ago. So I know that it can be done because it is something that is being done elsewhere. So straws, you have paper alternatives. Cups, you have paper alternatives. Forks and knives and the like, you have biodegradable alternatives, or sometimes reusable. I see some people, for example, now they have some metal straws and they just wash it and keep it. It's now a utensil that they keep. So they don't have to constantly be buying plastic straws and dumping them into the environment. So what we're likely to do and what we're considering is ultimately to have some perhaps concessions, because we know that the paper products are sometimes a bit more expensive. So we want to have some concession. But I'm saying to small business owners out there and to business owners generally, prepare yourselves. We've given you notice this is coming. Go online, do your research, find out what alternative products are there, and then come to the government and say, listen, I can get paper plates, but this is the cost. Can the government assist? Because that's what we intend to do, to be able to assist so that people do not have an added burden on them. But I think the world and our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren would be upset with us if, knowing the dangers of plastic, we continued not to do something about it. We need to act. The water drilling project, the last I heard from the minister is that we were in the process of signing contracts on that, and we had to send quite a significant sum as a mobilization amount. So that is being handled. I'm hopeful that that can be handled this week, and thereafter we have them mobilizing. We don't have a date yet as to when they'll mobilize, but we are optimistic that when they come, and initially they were supposed to come, we were looking at doing 3 wells, but we've now expanded that to some 9 wells across the island. So once they're here, we are hopeful that they will continue to drill. Our objective is to put as much water into the system as we can manage, because that will also allow us the opportunity of resting some of the other wells which have been, very, how should I say, overused. Wells that we have, which were supposed to be pumping a certain hours each day, are pumping 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're extracting water at a much faster rate than we are able to recharge in terms of the aquifers. We're getting lower rainfall due to climate change, and we have some challenges, and so we're trying to fix those challenges. I should also say in that context that our desalination plant construction is well on its way, and we're told that that plant will be in commission this year. We hope these new wells will also be in commission this year, and so we are hopeful that the difficulties that we're having now with some water rationing, that those difficulties will be short-lived, that we can solve the problem going forward. And then, of course, the ambition long-term is once we have geothermal energy and we have cheaper energy, then we can have desalination as the main solution and allow all these wells to rest. And that will allow more substantial recharge because we'll not be extracting groundwater at the same rate that we're extracting it now. While I'm on water again, let me continue to encourage our people to pay their water bills, because the water department is taking a very aggressive approach in terms of disconnecting persons who refuse to pay. I say refuse to pay because those who have arrears and have racked up significant amounts, we say to them, please go in and talk to the manager at the water department and come to an arrangement rather than have your water turned off. There's nothing more disgusting than turning on your tap and there's no water. We understand how frustrating that is. And so rather than allowing it to get to there, go in and have that conversation, come to a payment plan, but we're asking persons to pay their water bill. The emergency dispatch system, we anticipate that will be in effect this year. That's the goal. And so that's what we're doing now. As I said in my presentation, we've already trained some of the first cohort, and we'll continue to train dispatchers, EMTs, etc. We have just approved the monies, the cabinet, for the erection of the cupboards and equipment at the Whitehall Tower in order to ensure that the island has adequate coverage. So we do anticipate that that will be in full effect this year. The hospital wing and the resumption of work, I believe that the last update I gave on that, I suggested that we should be able to restart work in the month of May. That is next month. I can say now that that will not happen, that we will not be able to restart in May, and that's due to a number of factors, none of which of those factors is particularly detrimental. But the reason for that is twofold. One, we have been trying to deal with some pressing and time-sensitive commitments from the government. Water, that water drilling is $3.2 million US dollars. We have, of course, commitments at NEPAC, commitments at the cultural village, commitments at the cultural complex, and the commitments associated with staging Culturama 50, which is quite significant. And so that has put a bit of a strain on our financial resources for the first part of the year, and more of a strain than we had anticipated. For example, we had not anticipated that the water project would have been rolled out in the first half of the year. We have been forced to move the timeline up because of the difficulties that we've been having. So that's the first issue. The second issue is that we've been having quite a difficult time finding contractors locally who could handle the type of technical work that needs to be done at the hospital. And so, having had a number of engagements, we have in a way gone back to the drawing board about who will do the work. And we've engaged with some of our international partners. I can say that we've already had one visit from our partners in Taiwan, and we anticipate that we'll have another visit within the next 2 weeks where they want to look at the project, because they have firms that specialize in the build-out, the interior build-out. Because remember, I always say that the exterior of the hospital is done. So all we're talking about is the interior build-out. And so we have turned to our international partners to say, can we find that expertise to come in and assist us with that? So that is not likely to occur by the original date that we had. That original date that I gave of May was given based on the advice that I had at the time, based on the meetings. But as I said, there have been an intervention of these two factors, which will now push that project in terms of the restart later into the year. So at this point, I'm hopeful that we can restart that project in the latter half of 2024, rather than the first half that had been anticipated. And so we will provide more information as we get it. I've been very clear that despite the arguments about the hospital, I'm sure of one thing, that the care at our hospital is better now than it has ever been. The equipment and expertise available at our hospital is at the best it has ever been in the history of this island, and that the new wing is entirely separate from the existing hospital, meaning that the new wing and the delays in finishing the new wing has not impacted the quality of healthcare that is being offered on the island. I've likened it to a house. You're living in a house which isn't leaking, which has all the needs that you need for your comfort. you decide you want to build a much bigger house. The fact that that much bigger house is delayed doesn't mean that you have no place to live. Your existing home is actually quite comfortable. And so the hospital project that we're doing, I hear the noise, I understand the arguments. I too feel that the project is taking far too long, but I'm not going to allow the government to be rushed just because there are some commentators out there. I believe what we're doing is very deliberate. It is a process and a project that will serve the people of Nevis for the next 50 years at least. And so it is my expectation that we are going to do it right. And if that means that I get the right people to do it, now that we have all the quantity surveys that we have been waiting for, that we get the right people to do it so that we don't have any difficulties down the road, then so be it. So our ambition right now, speaking to our international partners, is to get a firm that is competent and cognizant and has practical experience with the build-out of the interior of hospitals. And as I said, we've already actuated that, and so we expect that we will see in short order the hospital being able to move forward in the way that we hope will take it to its successful conclusion for the benefit of the people of Nevis. And so I understand very much, Ms. Thompson, it has become a political football in a way, but I'm not going to worry myself over that. My job as a Premier in Nevis is to make the best decisions, given all the circumstances, and to deliver on projects for the benefit of the people of Nevis. Not simply to do things because people are making noise, but to do things properly so that our people can benefit over the long haul. And I am comforted in my approach because, as I said, we are not suffering from an inadequate healthcare system here. Our healthcare system is as robust as anywhere. We are certainly as robust as that available in St. Kitts, if not more so, and as robust as that available throughout the OECS. And so I am not daunted by the criticisms. I think in my job, you need to understand criticism will come. And while I agree that the project is taking too long, I want to do the project right. And that for me is the ultimate objective. So that is where we are now. So we will certainly announce when we're going to restart. But given the concerns that I've expressed, it's not likely that it's going to be in the first half as had been intended.
Elke Hewlett, Department of Information. I have some questions here from Devon Cornelius of ZIZ in St. Kitts. He asks, what is the status of works on the Nevis Performing Arts Center, estimated cost of renovation, and monies dispersed to date, and contractors? He also asks, what is the NIA's position on establishing a desalination plant in light of water challenges and climate change? Third, what are your administration's plans to secure investments for Nevis from international partners to boost economic growth and jobs? Fourth, we understand that the enrollment figures at the MUA, I think that's a medical school here, are not improving with enrollment below 10 for the new semester. What is the NIA's response to this in terms of ensuring enrollment increases? These questions are from Devon Cornelius of ZIZ. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks to young Devon Cornelius for his questions. NEPAC, Nevis Performing Arts Center. NEPAC has had difficulties since the very day it opened. It has had leaks and other difficulties, and those difficulties have simply got worse over the years. We have finally said that we had to fix them, and so NEPAC has been closed, as we know, for the past several months. The main works that are being done there is to remedy the defects in the roof, because that's where the water settled and seeped in to the auditorium at NEPAC. So we're working on that. The original contractors, Surrey Paving, are the ones that we've asked to come and basically correct the work that had been done. They were the ones who were most familiar with that work, and they came in with a quote. I think it was in the region of $300,000. It's a very significant investment to get that NEPAC leak situation with the roof fixed. We also had considerable difficulties with the air conditioning in the facility, and the air conditioning units had not been changed since the inception. They have come to their end of life, and I believe that the Finnish Touch, which is the leading air conditioning company in the Federation, that they have been tasked with correcting that work. They are all there on site working, I'm told, because the expectation is that NEPAC will be ready for Culturama 50. We have no choice but to get it ready because we are having a major archaeological conference here on the island, and they've already contracted to use NEPAC for their seminars and engagements. So we expect that the island, we're going to have hundreds of people descending on Nevis for that major conference that they're having here. So the center is on par. I would think, Mr. Cornelius, that overall we will end up spending, I anticipate, about $1 million, between $1 million and $1.5 million EC dollars on the repairs at NEPAC. So it's a significant investment to get NEPAC back to where it ought to be. There are also some lighting issues, some electrical issues that need to be resolved, and I'm told some sewage issues that need to be resolved. So overall, the infrastructure, I think, is dated, it is worn, and in some cases, like the leaks, those have existed from day one. So we're now trying to remedy those. The desalination plant, I believe that earlier I indicated that the 2 plants which had been negotiated during my tenure as foreign minister with the United Arab Emirates, one in St. Kitts and one in Nevis, that the one in Nevis is well under construction already. So that is going to, we're told, be putting water into the system this year. That desal plant, however, is not going to solve our problems because the quantity of water is quite small. So we have turned to drilling, as I explained with the contract with a company from Trinidad. I just went into some detail on that. And they were initially to drill 3 wells. We now anticipate that we'll be drilling 9 wells. So once we mobilize to do that, and we expect to have water from the desal plant and water from the drilling in our system by this year, 2024. Do we invest in desalination as a wider solution? I think the answer is yes, but I think not yet. Because before we invest in significant desalination, we have to solve the cost of electricity. And so for me, geothermal has to come first and desalination comes after. That's just the way I see it, and that's the path that we are pursuing. Because if we have to do desalination and pay to have the regular electricity, diesel power generated electricity, then we're going to have some serious problems in terms of the affordability of that water. And we know that we try very hard to keep water affordable because all of us need water and all of us have to be provided with water. Investments in Nevis to boost jobs. Mr. Cornelius, I don't know, you work in St. Kitts, how often you come to Nevis. But as old people say, jobs banging dog in Nevis. If you're not working and you don't have a job, well, maybe you don't want a job. Or maybe you're not interested in what is available. Sometimes you can't cater for everything that everybody wants. But so many employers are reaching out to me. There's a company in town here called Cage, I think, they do gaming. They reached out to me recently, they said, can't find workers. Restaurants can't find workers. You know, banks can't find workers. People are crying out. Even the Great Four Seasons Resort is saying they can't find workers. So, Social Security numbers keep telling us we have more jobs in Nevis than workers. And the gap is being filled by people who are working 2 and 3 jobs. So, individuals are saying, well, since I'm teaching, working in government by day, and at night the restaurants need people, let me do that at night. So that person is doing 2 jobs, and so picking up the slack, so to speak. So when I hear people talk about investment and boost jobs, I say, well, if we're going to boost jobs even more, we also have to boost immigration. We have to bring in people, because that is the situation that we're now faced with. And I keep encouraging our people. I hear the talk sometimes, oh, nothing in Nevis to do and they can't find jobs to do. Well, how is it that nothing is there to do? When the call center in Brownhill, for example, came, they wanted to start with 50 workers. That was their aim. And they couldn't manage 50. They had job fair, they had training, they had all that. They ended up, I think, starting with 33 or something like that. They have now grown. I believe they now have as much as 100 workers. A second call center in town, Telemed, they started out, I think, with about 8 or 10 people. They're now grown as well. I think they now have about 15, and they indicate that they're going to grow up to about 40. In Brownhill, we are meeting with the owners soon, because the anticipation is that we will have to do some additional build out, because they're getting ready now where they will occupy the additional building there because of the numbers of people that they anticipate employing. We cannot simply continue to ignore the facts and say things like, oh, we need jobs, because jobs are available. As I like to tell people, it may not be the job that you want, but you do what you need to do until you can do what you want to do. It is simply the way of life. I'm standing here today at this rostrum as the Premier of Nevis. You know, one time I worked as a cleaner in New York, a handyman, an elevator operator. I had to go around on the sidewalk in Manhattan and scrape chewing gum off the sidewalk. I had to take an instrument and a broom and make sure that there were no cigarette butts on that sidewalk for an entire block from 1407 Broadway and Broadway to 7th Avenue and between 37th and 38th Street. That entire block, if the superintendent of the building came out and saw any gum on the sidewalk, not in the building, on the sidewalk, any cigarette butts on the sidewalk, I got into trouble. That was my job. I worked as an apprentice, an electrical apprentice. I worked for a company called PBM, cleaning toilets, polishing sink. I will tell you to this day, the hardest job in the world is to polish brass. That's some brass countertops, and to polish them was incredibly difficult work. Back-breaking work, mop floors. I did what I needed, I had to do, until I could do what I wanted to do. And I don't think anything is lost in that. I'm not saying that people need to take my pathway. Some people may be more privileged. But there is value in honest work, whatever that honest work is. And it irks me when I see young people especially preferring to stay home. And then you have some telling them, you should stay home because no work there. But you find people who come here from the Dominican Republic who can't even speak English, working 3 jobs. How do they manage that? People who are struggling to speak English, holding down 3 jobs on Nevis. And people who are born here telling you they can't find nothing to do. One of my ministers said to me that a supporter of his approached him and was quite irate and said to him that a member of her family had now been out of school for over a year and wasn't working. And he wasn't looking out for the member of the family. And he asked, I think, the most obvious question, where has the young person applied? And the response from the adult was that they had not applied anywhere. So for over a year they're home sitting down, they have not made one application for a job anywhere. But the minister is being berated that he's not doing anything to find work. So he then said, but there's work available. The banks reach out sometime, say they're looking for people. There's work available. And our people just need to engage. And investment in Nevis, I believe investment in Nevis is at an all-time high. We may not have the large hotel being built, which would be nice, but in the meantime, we have not sat back. I just talked about Pinners. Go down there, see for yourself. The call centers, not 1 but 2. Look at them, see for yourself. They do not appear out of thin air. They are investments. The financial services sector, the number of international banks. Look around, see for yourself. That is what is happening in Nevis. And substantive jobs are being created. It is now for our people to take advantage of those jobs. MUA and the numbers, I agree, Mr. Cornelius, that the numbers are not what we would like. But having said that, you asked, what does the government do? In MUA, the last time I checked, was a private institution. I don't know it's the government's job for MUA's numbers to be up. What we have been doing is engaging with MUA. In fact, I had a call with them just yesterday to get from them what their plans are to try and increase the numbers. And they have explained that there have been some challenges, but it is for them to do what it is they do as a private sector entity. You can't, for example, say to me as the Premier, TDC isn't selling enough cars. What the government going to do about it? It's for TDC to determine what it does to ensure that it can sell as many cars as it can. So I think we need to be careful that we don't blur the lines between what the responsibilities of the government are and those of the private sector. But we are in active conversation with MUA because we would like MUA to fulfill its promise to the island of Nevis. That is to become a significant player in the local economy here. And we know that if we can get that student body up to about 1,000, which I think would be optimal for us, the spin-offs in rent and accommodation and vehicles, rental, telephone use, electricity consumption, water, food, restaurants, bars. You just look at what is happening in St. Kitts in terms of when you go in Frigate Bay. You see all these students walking back and forth, being picked up. All the bars, restaurants along the strip are filled with them. You go to Grenada, and you go to in St. George's University, where is it in True Blue, I think is located. And it's an entire town that has been created around the university there. Apartments, and people have invested, and restaurants and bars. That's what we would like to see here. And MUA understands that very much, that is the government's ambition, and so we have been in dialogue with them, and certainly we will help where they need help in terms of concessions, or they need help to build out infrastructure, but in terms of getting students, that is their responsibility. They must fine-tune their marketing and be able to attract students to this institution, which is a very high-quality tertiary education institution. So, I hope I've adequately answered Mr. Cornelius' questions. Anything further for me? No? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Members of the press who have been here, thank you for those who listened, those who called in terms of their questions, or maybe WhatsApped in, I should say, their questions. I'm grateful for them. And, of course, thank you to NTV as well, who have been here, and my good friend Carl, who provides the backdrops each time, and Von Radio, who carries this press conference live, and I believe the same is true of Freedom FM, who carries this press conference. So thank you all very much, and I look forward, through the grace of God, to be with you again next month, in the month of May, for our 5th edition of the Premier's Press Conference. Thank you, and God bless you.